In the Gospel of Matthew, last week we saw Jesus ask his disciples to take up the cross and follow him without worrying the persecutions or without getting afraid. In today's Gospel, Jesus is asking to take his yoke. Now, yoke is something which the farmer uses on the ox, and usually there are two sides of the yoke. And the farmer uses this to plow the field, and the oxes support it. The oxes are the ones who take up the yoke in the farm. In our today's gospel context, Jesus is requesting the Jews of that time who were listening to Jesus to take up his yoke, because he feels the previous yoke that they were already carrying was heavier for them. Jesus is not telling here that the previous yoke that Jews were carrying was bad or evil. The previous yoke also was the commandments of God written in Torah, that is the Bible of the time of Jews. We can relate so. And Jews felt it hard to follow. Few commandments like circumcision or food rituals like not to eat few dishes, that was still okay. But there were rules like work of Sabbath, and also the punishments, for example, stoning to death those who commit adultery or those who blaspheme. Jesus created the new covenant with God and man. And now he is asking, why are you trying to solve the problem that you are not able to fix? Or why are you trying to forcefully follow the laws that you are not able to completely follow? I am giving you the new laws, the new teaching, the new covenant that I am establishing with you, not by abolishing the old covenant or old law, but by fulfilling it. New teaching in the new covenant is not heavy as per se, even though it is a burden again, it needs to be carried. It is a yoke that Jesus will support, but it is much easier than the old covenant, old yoke. So the disciples who were Jews and later Jewish converts, to whom Matthew actually writes this gospel historically, did change the yoke to the new yoke, the yoke of Torah to the teachings of Jesus, like the Beatitudes, save your treasure in heaven, love other like yourself. They did get baptized and later got named Christians in the Antioch, starting from Antioch, to differentiate the Jews who believed Jesus and followed this new teaching. Now, the yoke is not limited to Jewish community alone. Every religion has their yoke, because every religion, if it is a religion, has rules to follow or please their deity, has rules on moral obligation of the conscience, and has rules for the social justice. For example, what are the punishments to be given for those who steal, kill, perform adultery, and so on. Jesus is asking the same even to them. Take up my yoke, because the yoke of Jesus is satisfactory and Jesus is supporting it. Jesus says he himself is meek and humble of heart, and this yoke is much easier to follow. This teaching is much easier to follow than your current teaching, which is not giving you satisfaction, which probably may not be pleasing to God totally. And we Christians have already accepted this yoke during our baptism, and again willingly during confirmation, and every Sunday Mass that we recite, I believe, I confess, we formally accept to willingly carry this yoke. Keep carrying this yoke, keep following the teachings of Jesus, even though they are heavy at times, they are hard at times. Some of the teachings of Jesus are demanding, like take up your cross, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, pray for your family members, spouse, children, or anyone who is persecuting you for say. We have Jesus as a fellow person who carries the cross along with us in the yoke. And we have Holy Spirit within us to guide us and to overcome the weakness of flesh, to live in the Spirit. And we have sacraments, sacrament of confession especially, in case if you fall and lay down the teachings of Jesus. Jesus himself has a person, he says, he is meek and humble of heart. So you don't need to worry, or you don't need to worry about punishment after failure. You don't need to go back because you failed the yoke, because you failed the teaching of Jesus. But get up and start back on the teachings of love of Jesus. Get up and love again. God bless you.